introducing me and mentioned Milton Friedman, it occurred to me that there are a number of names that I will mention in the course of my talk. I thought maybe I ought to highlight the names for you so that you can listen for them. They'll show up in different places, and they're all of pretty much the same mindset. Pretty much. Adam Smith, Milton Friedman, Nikita Khrushchev, Chairman Mao, and Eliot Spitzer. All get into this. Actually, I ought to pass out a test right now and see if people can figure out what those connections might possibly be. And I think you might not get them. I realize the focus of this conference, of course, is on financial disclosure and some of the issues that come up out of the drive to develop clear, prompt, continuous, comparable financial statements, and that's an important topic. It seems to me that at times that the accounting standards lose sight of the goals and get caught in the weeds, and that's all the question of principles and rules-based accounting. But I'm not going to talk about that very much. I'm going to step back a little bit and look at a bigger picture with you. And as any good patriotic American should, I'll start at the beginning with 1776 and the publication of An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. In America, over the last several years, we've come to sort of take Adam Smith for granted, and we forget sometimes how well regarded he was. And if you go back to Europe in the late 1700s, you find people like Voltaire, people like Immanuel Kant, talking about Adam Smith as the resident genius in Europe at the time. And it's important to recognize that I'm going to read a fairly lengthy quote that most or all of you have heard before, but if you're like me, you don't get back to reading Adam Smith very often. And so you've forgotten exactly how it comes out. Let me just read this. As every individual, therefore, endeavors as much as he can, both to employ his capital in the support of domestic industry, and so to direct that industry that its produce may be of the greatest value, every individual necessarily labors to render the annual revenue of the society as great as he can. He generally, indeed, neither intends to promote the public interest, nor knows how much he is promoting it. He intends only his own security, and by directing that industry in such a manner as its produce may be of the greatest value, he intends only his own gain. And he is in this, as in many other cases, and here's the most important phrase to come out of Adam Smith, as in many other cases, led by an invisible hand to promote an end which was no part of his intention. Nor is it always the worse for the society that it was no part of it. By pursuing his own interest, he frequently promotes that of society more effectually than when he really intends to pursue it. And here Smith prepares us for much of what we see today. He goes on to say, I've never known much good done by those who affected to trade for the public good. It's an affectation indeed, not very common among merchants, and very few words need to be employed in dissuading them from it. Now, I said we've come to take Adam Smith for granted. I was in Scotland last summer and noticed that in all of Scotland, with all of the statues they've got to every kind of imaginable hero, there is not one statue to Adam Smith. And it wasn't just that I didn't find one, because I went to Google, as we all do, and Google told me there wasn't one, and in fact there's a fund to try to create one, and they've got a place for it, but it doesn't yet exist. The most important piece of that, though, is as Adam Smith and notions of capitalism and the invisible hand have fallen into, if not disrepute, have fallen into a certain amount of benign neglect, if you will. In the United States, that's true in its homeland, Scotland, as well. Jim mentioned, and I will talk about and have to mention here, perhaps this university's most noteworthy alumnus, the late Milton Friedman, and I think particularly of his 1962 book, Capitalism and Freedom. As one of my good friends always refers to it, Capitalism and Friedman. Capitalism and Freedom, in which he demonstrated perhaps better than anyone else since Adam Smith, that economic freedom, which is one with capitalism, necessarily goes along with political freedom. And I don't have time today to delve into the current experiment in China's rather odd political economy, but I think in the long run, I'll stand by that statement.